Oh, it's back to work. It's back to work. Hope you guys had a fantastic Thanksgiving. I know the weekend flew right by, but it's back to work tonight. Got some money to make this week. It's Monday evening. We're getting ready for Tuesday's trading session. I have a lot of great trades I'm tracking for tomorrow. I'm going to cover all my favorite trades in tonight's video to make sure you get a game plan to make some money tomorrow. As always, before we jump in and get this party going tonight, we got a lot we're going to cover in a very important video newsletter. Before we jump in, though, make sure you subscribe to our channel that we don't miss tomorrow night's video upload. And if you guys enjoyed the video tonight, do me a favor, will you hit that like button? I appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting this YouTube channel. But enough of the intro, right? Let's get ready for Tuesday. Tuesday is not going to trade itself. And yes, I'm still digesting all that turkey for the holiday. All kidding aside, I hope you guys had a fantastic holiday weekend. It feels good to be back here for a full week ahead of us here. What's going on, though, in these markets? Where's the best money-making trades for tomorrow? Well, we get the S&P, nice strong bear move down on the E-mini, nice strong bear move down on the Nasdaq. Anytime we see strong moves like this, we expect to see another leg lower. So we're definitely watching for some pullbacks and some continuations going lower here. But I mean, come on, we got ranges back above us. At least in the Nasdaq, we're at major support levels right now. So I definitely have some reversals, maybe some V bottoms, some double bottom reversals. We definitely want to talk about some reversals for tomorrow. Some of my favorite trades are potential reversals for tomorrow. So we're going to cover that tonight in a lot of detail. Oil has been a wild one. Oil's been a wild one. Right now, we are bullish into a trading range right now. We got a couple key levels here looking for buyers to come in. But I'd be lying to you right now if I said oil is easy to pin down. We'll talk about talking about reversals on the S&P and the Nasdaq. Got that big range then around 74 and a quarter there. You could easily think this could reverse right back down to get that trading range. So talking pullbacks on oil, we're talking reversals on oil, and I'm going to make sure, again, by the end of this video tonight, you'll have a game plan to make some easy money on Tuesday. Now, speaking of Tuesday, before we jump in and take a look at all my favorite trades for tomorrow, really, there isn't a lot of major news tomorrow. Tomorrow will be one of the calmer news days of the week. The big news for tomorrow, of course, is the consumer confidence number at 10 o'clock Eastern time. So we definitely do want to keep that on our radar for tomorrow. Really the big news, though, doesn't start coming in until Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Wednesday, we have a big day on Wednesday. GDP at 8:30. We got JOLTS at 10 o'clock. And you could probably argue one of probably the biggest things of the week here this week is we're going to hear from Jerome Powell on Wednesday afternoon. Everyone's waiting to hear what the Fed will say about their next meeting, right? The Fed has another meeting coming in mid-December, and everyone's wondering, will they raise rates by their 75 basis points? Will they raise rates by a half percentage? You know, everybody will be listening into Powell on Wednesday. And so Wednesday is a very big day here. And then, of course, more big news. Thursday got PCE, and then arguably the most important news of the week is absolutely hands down the employment number coming on Friday. The Fed has told us many times the employment numbers are what they're watching most right now. Inflation has obviously been stubbornly high, but those employment numbers they've been telling us lately is on the top of their radar. So not a lot of news here for tomorrow. 10 o'clock is the consumer confidence number. That is the big news that we know about for tomorrow. We've heard a lot of stuff, though, recently. We heard from OPEC today about potential production cuts. There's a lot of drama happening right now in China with their zero COVID lockdown policy. I'm sure most of us have seen the videos online about these huge kind of coordinated protests in China right now all over the country. So there definitely are some kind of known unknowns out there. I think that situation in China is one of the biggest kind of known unknowns as we go into tomorrow. But for right now, 10 o'clock, consumer confidence. And you don't want to miss tomorrow night's video, because tomorrow night we'll talk about kind of dipping and dodging and working around those big numbers we have on Wednesday. So going to be a busy week here, especially in our trade room. in the mornings. Back to our charts though, because after all, the money is made on the charts here. Now I'm gonna cover all my favorite trades in each of these three markets here right now. Make sure you watch all the way to the end, because I'm gonna cover different trade ideas, different advanced setups, and I do try to save the best stuff all the way to the end, so I'll give you a reason to stick around all the way to the finish. I'm gonna go E-mini and the SPY. We'll go Nasdaq and the QQQs, and we'll wrap things up here on the crude oil. And as I go through this here tonight, don't be afraid to drop some questions in the comment section below if you have any questions here. Now, first things first here, these are all tick charts here tonight, guys. That's an 8,000 tick chart here on the E-mini S&P. These will all be tick charts, and so you can find the specific time frames in the upper left-hand corner. Also be aware too, the S&P and the Nasdaq are very similar in most cases. A little bit different right now, but a little bit, they're usually pretty similar. So we talk about on the S&P can usually be applied to the Nasdaq and vice versa. So keep that on your mind as well. Now, there are really two kind of key insights right now on the S&P that are kind of tipping us off to where the best trades are going to be for tomorrow. In a nutshell, we basically had that strong move down into a trading range, that gap down into a trading range. Now, ranges, of course, are magnets, but you notice here they broke out below that range with a very strong move going lower. Anytime we see a real strong move in one direction, we always kind of anticipate a pullback and a retest of that low. If we can get that pullback in that retest, obviously sellers would love to come in and sell off of some of these areas of resistance. Once they get their retest of that low, do we see one of my favorite reversals, those double bottom reversals, or do we see it continue to some major levels waiting below? The big objective right now for the bears is that 39.12 half level on the S&P, a little bit higher up there on the Nasdaq. So, again, in a nutshell right now, ultimately sellers are looking to short this thing or look for entries off the high of that channel, basically looking at entries off resistance levels overhead. I mentioned earlier, I love the idea of a reversal right now with that range above us here. And so, as you can imagine, right, if those sellers were to fail, the market has potential for a nice reversal going higher. I can definitely see a couple different ways in which we can trade reversals here on the S&P. And of course, as a buyer here, right, as we go lower, again, that double bottom reversal, or potentially trading this thing short as we go lower here. Now, what is likely to happen next is a pullback, right? Bit of a pullback here off of this low. And this is really where we have to kind of wait and see what we get here. It's tough to kind of predict how the overnight session is going to work here. The key, of course, is going to be that trend line coming down overhead, right? That'll be kind of that's kind of the anchor we have right now for these bears. What I'd love to do for a short right now is get up into that trend line, anticipate that range acting as a magnet, and then once those buyers come in and try to buy that pullback, remember, it's a very strong bear move down, they're going to want to retest that low. So once these buyers come in and try to buy off that, this is the 21 moving average on all of my charts, think about now where their stops are. Remember, it's a very strong move down. I realize there's a range above us, but they're going to want to retest that low here. If I can get these buyers to commit off the moving average, think about where their stops are. I might get lucky here for a nice little, what I call a buyer failure pattern, which you guys learn a lot about in our free trading course. Those failures oftentimes turn into what we call pullback combinations, right? So failure into pullback combo, right? And again, the goal is to go back down to retest that low. So as we pop up, we get up into overhead resistance. I'm looking to basically trap in some of these buyers, use their stops as fuel for a buyer failure pattern, and then of course grab that first pullback for that pullback combination as we go back down to retest the low. Now, again, like I mentioned earlier, let's say, for example, though, we do pop up here, and now the market says, no, we want to go back up into that trading range, there are a couple different ways in which we can trade this reversal if it simply just V bottoms off of that low. One of my favorite ways to do this is off what I call a pop and grind, right? So let's say it kind of pops up. We don't get those buyers trying and failing back down again, but instead the range is too big of a magnet and we start to kind of grind and run higher. These are very, very simple. Just simply mark a trend line off that high, bring it down off that low, and you can see what I'm doing. I'm creating a new kind of a hidden channel, as I call it in my video classes. And then from there, what you want to do is look left, find some of these prior swings. And I always try to get underneath one of these prior swings. That's usually where some of the best entries are going to be on these reversals. Now, below prior swings are where trap patterns live. Below the moving average, again, imagine now the bears come in. They try to short this thing. At this point, though, it's pretty much a reversal back for the buyers. If I can get those bears to come in and try to short, I can use my failure setup, right, to run those stops into a pullback combination going higher. Now, where would the buyers be looking to go on this, right? So again, it kind of pops up, grinds higher. We're finding that channel, and you guys have learned about these, right? There's the traps, the failures, the pullback combos, all the same entry patterns you guys are learning right now in our free trading course, which, by the way, I got so many great emails over the Thanksgiving. I talk about being thankful. I was so thankful to get so much great feedback from you guys over the holiday. People making money using all these setups we talk about in our free trading course and in the newsletter. Which reminds me, by the way, if you're one of the few people who haven't taken the free trading class yet, what I'll do is I'll put a link up here for you that we can learn all the entry tactics. Grab that link and take the free trading course, because the strategy that I teach in that free class will show you a remarkably simple trick to know where the winners are likely to be that day, and by default, the opposite side is where the losses are. If you're taking too many losses, if you're missing too many good trades right now, take that free course. It'll pop up there in the upper right-hand corner. It's perfect for somebody who's trying to make the jump into full-time trading. You're going to love it. And let me know what you think too. Let me know your results as well. I would love to know how you're doing there on that, on the setups. So again, we go up, buyers try, fail, back down, one way to trade it, or we go up, we pop, and we grind going higher, right? Finding that new channel, and we're grabbing that long, right, off the low of that channel. And again, we're thinking right now the buyers want to go back to the other side of the range, and then ultimately, right, they want to go back ultimately and take out that high, and potentially, if things really get wild tomorrow, possibly all the way up to fill that gap, which they never filled from leftover from the holiday weekend there. Now, one more thing you want to kind of keep in mind here. Let's say, for example, they pull back, right, and we jump off that moving average, right? This is another example here of a possible reversal off of that low, right? So again, buyers come in, they don't try and fail and back down again. At the same time, too, we're not popping and grinding higher, right? We're 1, 2, and then jumping off that moving average. These are very, very simple. We call these 1, 2, 3 moves. In our trade room, you'll learn a lot about 1, 2, 3 moves in that free trading class. I mentioned earlier, these are easy, right? At this point, the range is the magnet. I'm marking off that high. I'm finding a channel off that low. And again, I love to look left, find some prior swings. You'll see examples of these in that free trading class, right? But grab those. Again, could be a trap, could be a failure, could be a pullback off that low. The key is I don't want to chase it as we're going higher, right? So if we do get that 1, 2 pop, okay, I find that new channel, and I do not want to miss whichever entry pattern to get my hands on at that low. All right, so that's how I want to trade this thing as it pulls back, either using a buyer failure to sell it back down, or of course using a potential reversal here going back higher. Now, here's another very important question right now, and keep in mind, these will all pretty much apply to the NASDAQ as well. What if we go lower? What if we go lower? What if we get that pullback? Right? What if the buyers come in, try to buy it, they fail, and we're right back down at that low? How do I buy that? right? How do we buy that? How do we buy that double bottom reversal? I talked about how much I like these types of patterns earlier. The key is going to be using what I call the 2-try rule, right? So for example, right, we come down, buyers come in, they fail, we use their stops as fuel, we retest the low. Now think about it, what's going to happen down here, right? The smart money sellers, the big money, right? The smart money traders are selling nice and high. When I get down around these lows now down here, this is where professional sellers should be taking profit. And this is exactly where we can rope in some rookies and use their stops as a catalyst. What you have to remember about picking a bottom like this is that we have to get 3 things. One, a major turning point, like a retest of that low. 2, I want to see signs of exhaustion. That's where the 2-try rule comes in handy, right? Let the bears try a couple times down here. Now, you're going to see a lot more examples of the 2-try rule and 2-try failures, as we call it. You'll learn a lot more about that in that free trading class I mentioned earlier. But now think about as those bears struggle to break out, right? They're selling very low down here. The third thing we need to pick this bottom is a catalyst. And the best catalyst I know of is running those stops. That's my favorite way to pick a bottom when, again, we get a bear market. Now, again, remember, the idea behind this is that strong move, the bears come in, they sell it high, they take their profit, but apparently rookies don't get the same memo. They get trapped, and we're buying into those stops. I like to use the high of that pullback as a target, and then, of course, back up into that trading range. A very, very possible scenario for tomorrow. The last kind of scenario we have to kind of plan for here is what if the market keeps on grinding lower, right? What if it keeps on grinding lower? Now, be aware, the Nasdaq, which you'll see in a moment, the Nasdaq definitely does not have as much space below us right now. The S&P definitely does. The E-mini is going to want to take out this 39.12 half level. That's pretty much the objective we have going lower here. Anytime I have a strong move that begins to grind its way down, we just talked about this, right? These kind of pop and grinds. What I'll do is mark off that channel or off the low, find a channel off the high, right? Same idea. Find those prior swings. I like to get above prior swings. That's usually where the best entries are going to go. This is going to be a nice strong move down still. So if we can get above some of these prior swings, that's where traps live, get above that 21 moving average. Now think about this, right? Think about this now. Hopefully buyers will come in and try to buy it. If they do, we can use their stops, their failure into pullback combinations for a retest of that low. And remember, once we get back to retest the low, we can look for that 1, 2, and then back up from there. So buyer failure into pullback combination. You guys will soon grow to love these, especially if you've taken that free trading class I mentioned earlier. We talk a lot about these failure into pullback combos. So if we do keep grinding down, just keep your eyes on ultimately the same basic game plan. And as you can imagine, right, if it pops up and begins to grind going higher, we know what's up. We know that range above us is the magnet. The key is if it pops and grinds, usually that means we have a bit of a short squeeze on our hands. I can now mark off that high, mark off that low, right? Grab that trap and buy that first test off that low, right? Or again, if it happens to pull back to the moving average and really blast running higher, we call these what? We call these 1, 2, 3 reversals. And now we look for that new channel like that. Again, you'll see a lot of examples of these in my trade room in that free trading class from there. All right, so that's the basic game plan. Now, there will be some other variations of this stuff, and unfortunately, I can't teach everything on these videos and keep them underneath an hour and a half long. So if you want to learn more, different advanced tactics, definitely grab that free trading course, learn the basic stuff there, and I'll be, of course, tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time in our trade room. How about some NASDAQ right now? NASDAQ is going to be very similar to the S&P 500, but what you'll notice right away is the NASDAQ, in my eyes, looks even more ripe for a possible reversal here right now. There are basically 2 key insights, right? The same key insights that we saw on the S&P, right? Pretty much a bear market into a trading range. Now, I will definitely say the NASDAQ looks a little bit more ripe for a reversal, but you'll notice they got that nice strong rotation down with, again, that strong move going lower. Anytime we see a strong move in one direction, we have to respect the momentum of those bears right now. Now, one thing about the NASDAQ here, again, you'll notice here, is that we have that big, basically the level that the S&P is trying to get to right now is a little ways below it. The NASDAQ, there's not a lot of space down here. So we really have to get some sort of strong breakout before we can really even consider selling short here if this market was to go lower right now. I like just looking at the overall look at the chart right now. It's going to be a little bit easier to make money on the buy side right now, but hey, it's still pretty bearish, so we have to kind of play it by ear. The biggest clue I think we have is that trading range, because you'll notice we had that gap down, of course. They chop around in that range, they run up, and you'll notice how the amount we went above the range is projected now below that trading range, and it's almost identical, right? It's almost symmetrical off of that high. So we definitely do have a lot of bearish momentum going lower right now, but we're sitting at a very convenient spot right now for a reversal. I don't want to repeat myself too badly here on the NASDAQ, but you can see how there's a lot of very big similarities here over on the NQ compared to the S&P. It's a strong move down. And that strong move down says that, let me clean this thing up here real quickly, right? Strong move down says if I can get above this moving average, get up into some of these channels, right? Again, you got prior levels of support, can be used as resistance. So we definitely do potential for, again, a buyer, right? Buyers coming in. Will they try to buy this back up into that trading range? It's a very strong bear move down, so I can't necessarily buy it just yet. If those buyers will fail, we can use those stops as fuel for a retest of that low. Once we get that retest of the low, then we have that, as we say, mission accomplished. The bears have come in now, they've retested their low, and now we can go out and try to trap in some of those bears, right? Look for those rookies to come in. Let them try twice, right? You want to let them try twice down here because, of course, you want to make sure you trap them in and use their stops as fuel. If we're trying to be a buyer in a bear market like this right now, at least in this scenario, we have to trap them in at a key level of support, see signs of exhaustion from those two tries, and then again, use their stops, right? Use their pain ultimately as a catalyst going higher here. So it's the exact same kind of game plan that we just mentioned there on the S&P. And again, if they pop up and begin to grind going higher here, it's pretty easy, right? We know that range overhead is a magnet. We can mark off that trending off that high, find that kind of pop and grind channel off the low, start thinking about where we have some prior swings here and try to get that pullback. Again, I'm not going to just simply buy the low of that channel. You'll learn more about things like traps and buyer, or in this case, seller failures, right? And get those pops going higher here. So any of the entry patterns you guys are using or learning in that free trading course, I like traps and failures below the moving average. It could easily be a pullback setup in my strength move going higher here. Where would the buyers be trying to go? Well, we think they're going to want to take out some of these prior highs over here, 733. And then I'll tell you, this could be one big pendulum swing, right? If we really get a big reversal here, this could definitely be one big pendulum swing, and we'll of course know more about this once we get some more information here coming out of the opening bell in Asia. But you can see though how that could easily pop this thing right back up, take out those highs, and we kind of know where this level, right, will be at that point. Now think about it too, right? So if we do get, again, pop up, pull back, that blast off the moving average back higher again, right? We're finding that new channel, marking off that high, marking off that low, grabbing that first test, right? First test, of course, is always the best test off those channels. Again, could be a trap, could be a failure, whichever entry pattern that we get. Once we get up into this area, what's going to happen? This will be a very It'll be a very strong bullish trend. So at that point, what do? Same basic idea, right? You get below it, you trap in the bears, you look for that retest of that high, right? Double top, and then of course 1, 2, back down again. It's the same basic idea we talked about. Buying off this low can be used to sell off that high as well. Sometimes, by the way, sometimes these reversals like this, though, sometimes they keep on going, right? And sometimes they really blast through those pendulum swings. And so it may lead to what I call a slingshot reversal going higher. We know the buyers right now, just like on the S&P, bunch of levels overhead. I got that 933 objective on the Nasdaq overhead. On the S&P, the objective overhead is a little bit different. You got that 40, 50 level. That'll be your big objective there for the buyers. Again, the buyers on the S&P are pretty simple. They want to close that gap. That's the obvious one there on the E-mini S&P. Now, on the Nasdaq, as we go lower, all right, as we go lower here, if we do keep on grinding down here, it definitely is not nearly as desirable to be a short seller down here because, again, we've got all this. Well, again, there's not much space down below us here. So if we do keep on kind of grinding down right now, just make sure that we're getting that pop up. Make sure we're going in and trapping in these buyers. That's the key here because we're going to need to use their stops as fuel for that retest. But I really like, and again, that buyer failure on the pullback there. I really like that retest of that low, trapping those bears, right? And then use their stops as fuel for that run going where? Yeah, going back up to retest that high and then potentially up into that trading range. All right, guys? And again, these are the basics, right? I unfortunately can't cover everything on these videos, but at least this will give you a game plan to make some money tomorrow, and I'll kind of fill in the gaps here for us tomorrow as well, right? So looking to short the pullback, will that pullback turn into a reversal? And then, of course, will we get a double bottom reversal? We get some key levels. We're watching there for some reversals here right now on the NQ. All right, looking pretty good there on the NQ. S&P as well, same basic idea. How about some oil? Now, oil is definitely the market that is the most difficult to pin down right now. As I mentioned earlier, oil's very much news-based at this point. A lot of updates coming in right now. The two big impact players for the price of oil right now, one, of course, is China, and not for your normal reasoning why, but more importantly because the lockdown's happening right now. It's looking a bit messy as they try to figure out how to keep this zero COVID policy in place there because, you know, you lock down 10 million people every time there's a COVID case, you're going to get some backlash on that. So we definitely do have that kind of lingering out there. And then we keep hearing from OPEC. OPEC had a production cut, about a month ago? They have another meeting coming in the month of December. And so we definitely have, they are one of the biggest kind of known unknowns right now. If they even mention another production cut, this oil could really whip around pretty good here. So we're very much news-based right now here on the oil. So be aware of that. There's not much I can do to predict or anticipate when we're going to hear something or what's going to be said out of China or OPEC right now. There are two kind of key insights, right? The most important thing right now is we have a very strong bull run. Anytime we see a strong move in one direction, we have to expect the buyers to come in and want to buy that pullback and retest the high. Once they get that retest off the high, do we see a double top reversal? We've talked about those a couple times already. Or do we see a breakout going higher, potentially right up into some key levels overhead? I definitely think that $80 a barrel area is a very likely objective just because oil loves to move in $5 increments. Now, of course, this range is definitely not hurting, right? That range is great to see if you are a buyer because ranges, of course, they act like magnets, and so that's definitely not hurting them right now. So buyers have all the control, right? Buyers at this point, pretty straightforward, right? We know we've got that big bull run higher. I'd love to come in. What I'd like to do is get a little bit lower, right? Down around that 76 level would really be a great spot for us to pull back. If I can get a little bit lower here, down inside my buy zone, again, let's think about this. The range is a magnet, strong move up there for the buyers. Can we get some bears coming in and trying to sell short? Once those bears get short, we know exactly now where their stops are, and we can use those stops for basically for fuel, right? As a catalyst, right? To give us that edge for that run going higher. These are very, very common. These what we call failure patterns, right? You guys will learn a lot about these inside that free trading course. And then think about it this way too, right? As we go higher here, do we then retest the high and then get buyers coming in 1, 2 and back down again? This one doesn't seem to be. This short off the high is not nearly as, well, let's put it this way. This is probably my least favorite trade on the chart so far, is that double top reversal, just because we're so bullish already. There's a very big difference between trying to, basically, if you're trying to sell that high right now, there's a lot of momentum here. The range, of course, is the magnet. It's still very bullish, right? Very different equation to sell the high on the oil, right, than to use a double bottom reversal on the Nasdaq. Because the Nasdaq and the S&P, by the way, both have that range to benefit from, right? The range above us is one of the big reasons why a double bottom with a 2-try failure is on my radar for the Nasdaq and the S&P, right? On the oil, think about it, right? If they pull back, trap in some of these bears right now, that's going to be a lot of momentum going higher. So I don't love the 2-try failure off the high, but it's something I will keep on my radar. What I'd like to get even more, knowing where that $80 a barrel is up there and knowing that could easily be the milestone for these buyers, if we can get this thing to trap in these bears and then get that strong jump going higher. Now, think about some scenarios on this, right? How about a pop and grind? Now, think about this. When it comes to breakouts, okay, when it comes to kind of range breakouts, right? This range breakout. When it comes to breakouts, what you want to kind of think about is if we can get that strong push going higher, what you want to do is look for traps originally, right? So when it comes to breakouts, initially you want to look for traps, right? And you'll learn all about trap patterns, right? In my video classes, my free trading course talks a lot about traps, right? So if we get that real strong kind of failure pattern into snap and real punch going higher here, the initial entry you want, if we can get that real strong breakout going higher, are what are basically trap lows or bear traps, right? That's kind of what you want to think about as the market begins to break out of that range. And again, we're already very bullish, so I can be pretty aggressive on those entries. Then as we keep going higher, then we start thinking about, okay, now let's find some bigger channels, right? And now let's try to get that deeper pullback and trap in some of these bears. Does that make sense? This is kind of the key component when it comes to breakouts, right? When it comes to breakouts, and again, this is a bullish market already, so I can be a lot more aggressive, right, on that breakout. In the short term, if we see a real strong pop going higher, right, that little trap entry, which you'll see a lot of examples of those in that free trading course, that bear trap, that trap low is the initial entry. Okay, take some profit, right? Cash your paycheck. As it goes higher, then we start thinking about, okay, now let's wait for a pullback. Now let's buy a bit lower, and we can start buying with things like bear traps, seller failures, pullback combos off of that low. So if we do end up getting that strong push going higher, right? Initial entries are going to be traps going higher. And then from there, we go, okay, let's find the channel. Let's mark up the high there, mark off that low there, right? Get that pullback off that channel. And then from there, we look to trap in the bears below the moving average and get that run back up to retest the high. So quick traps, right? When it comes to breakouts, quick traps, right? Little shallow traps as it goes higher. And then as it keeps going higher for you, we don't want to chase after it, right? We want to buy the pullback. This is where we want to get underneath that 21 moving average, trap in those bears, use the strength of that move to our advantage, and look for a retest of that high. That's the way you want to trade this thing as we go higher here. Now, clearly, right, this could reverse. This could easily reverse on the oil, right? Like I said, tough to pin this market down right now. If they do pull back, for example, right, they pull back, they hold that moving average, and they blast running lower. What are we doing? Anytime we see one of those 1, 2, 3 moves, what do? We mark off that low, we mark off that high, find that channel, and we're grabbing any of the entry patterns we can find off the high of that channel, right? Could be a bull trap, could be a buyer failure. Again, I'm not going to go over all that stuff right now, but you'll see a lot of examples of that inside the free trading course. We know where the bears want to get to, right? They're going to want to go right back and bury that low and take out that 73.60 level off that low. Or just like the pop and grind we talked about on the S&P, they pop down. We don't get the bears coming in, trying and failing. What happens is they simply pop and grind, going lower. The grind is always an easy giveaway, right? Mark off that low, mark off that high, go looking left, and we'll go fishing for bull traps, right, off the high of that channel. Bull trap, buyer failure above the 21 EMA, pullback combination. You'll learn that stuff inside the free trading class. All right, so that's how we want to sell this thing as we go lower, and of course how to buy it if those bears are going to fail. Now, like I mentioned earlier, these are the basics. We'll kick it up a couple notches tomorrow morning in our trade room. And speaking of our trade room, 8 o'clock Eastern time, every morning, if you're looking for a place to come out and learn this stuff and trade along with me, if you're not getting the results that you want, if you're tired of missing the best trades each day, what are you waiting for? Come out and trade it with us, 8 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow morning. I'll put all the membership links. I'll put all the important stuff you need down in the description of the YouTube video, right? The free trading course links, I'll put them down there. And of course, the trade room links, membership links will all be there. And don't forget, if you have any questions here so far, the easiest way to get help with anything we've talked about so far is to pick up the phone, call the office. We got live chat in the lower right-hand corner. We are always here standing by to answer questions about anything that we talked about here so far here this evening. And again, if you got any questions, you can always drop questions in the comment section below. This will be a little bit faster way to get a response here from us here at the office. All right, guys, wrapping things up here right now. Busy week ahead, right? Busy week ahead. Get a bunch of news coming later this week. The end of the month is always one of the most volatile times of the month. So looking forward to a very good week here with you guys in our trade room tomorrow morning. In the meantime, get some rest. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Hope you learned a bunch here. Hope you use this strategy to make a bunch tomorrow as well. And if I don't see you tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock in the trade room, we'll see you guys tomorrow night. We'll come back for a very important video tomorrow night as we put a game plan together for the gauntlet that's coming out on Wednesday as we finish up the month of November. Can't believe we're thinking about the month of December here. Anyways, get out of here. Enjoy your evening. Get some rest. I know we're still trying to battle off that turkey and stuffing right now. So all kidding aside, I hope you guys had a very restful and thankful Thanksgiving. And I'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time. If not, same time, same place tomorrow evening. As always, my name is Joseph. Be well, be nice to each other, and you better be here next time. Adios, amigos. Bye-bye for now.